I'm Lance Phillips. If the lights go off in the studio one more time, this show is being changed to The Clothes Are Off.
I'm Josh Ryan, and I don't want to be around for that show.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do want to be around for that show.
That is an uncomfortable experience for me.
No way. I'm not
Always.
wearing any pants right now. You seem fine with it.
Well, I learn something new every day, apparently.
You didn't learn anything new. You can see me from here. Just pasty white.
This is The Gloves Are Off.
I look up.
Welcome to Gloves Are Off. Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan with you for yet another edition of our fun Tuesday evening show. Lots on the topic, lots on the sked this week, Josh Ryan.
Yeah.
There's been some interesting developments in the world of sports, namely LeVar Ball and his company, Big Baller Brand, which we're going to talk about. That guy's outside his mind.
Yes.
He's out of his mind.
A lot of news came down about that yesterday as well. So
He's totally out of his mind. But let's start where we started for the last 5 or 6 weeks in a row now with the Lloydminster Red Dogs.
Yes.
If winning a championship wasn't enough, they took it a step further with their home game against the Battle River Shock, winning 56-2. 56-2. You heard that correctly, and they hadn't scored a point till nearly the end of the first quarter. But the most compelling part of this game, Josh, was what had happened after the game when all the seniors are on the field. The last 2 downs of the game, all their grade 11s were out there, 11 of them to play. They actually had to send another younger player out because they only have 11 grade 11s. Really compelling to see all these guys embracing being part of, a tight-knit group. For longer than just 3 years of midget football. They've been playing together since Bantam, and some of them even played together in Pee Wee. Really incredible stuff, and what an incredible run they had this season.
Yes, and you could see the emotion on their faces as they talked about going into their high school seasons and how much they're going to miss playing together.
Yeah,
obviously, several of them have more left in their football careers at the high school level, maybe at the university level too with a few of them. But that bond they've created over these 3 years is something. And it really also showed up, and I loved how during your story they talked about honoring Rod Kirby and how important that was for this past weekend and this past season, really. And it showed in the way, not only how they carried themselves off the field, but also just how perfect they were all season.
The interesting thing about Rod Kirby is that because I didn't move here until November, I didn't get a chance to know this man. And I've heard a lot about him, and I really wish I had the chance to get to know about him, get to know a little bit about him. But after the game, there was a lot of joy, but you could tell that there was also some sadness. And I think a lot of those people were thinking about Rod when that game was over and what they accomplished this season and trying to do him proud.
Yes, and the same thing for the coaches as well, who had such a hard task to take on. I mean, Rod has pretty much invented club football out in this region and has set such a standard for them to follow. But they did this season, and looks like they're going to be very good for a long time yet still.
They are, and it was a great day too. It was 28 degrees and sunny on Saturday, and dry field conditions, unlike the place that you were in Saturday.
Yes, it was sunny where I was on Saturday, but certainly a lot less dry. That, of course, was the muck run taking place in the afternoon on Saturday. Great turnout for the event, more than 100 runners, several teams. Money raised, of course, going to the Lloyd Health Foundation. This is something that's been picking up a lot in Alberta in general, but especially this region. We have a couple more muck run type events happening this summer in other neighborhoods, and it's popping up all over the place. Spartan runs are held every year. The American Ninja Warrior show, which isn't necessarily a muck run, but that element of like obstacle course running has gained huge popularity. And I wonder if this is something that's going to continue to grow to the point where it might become something fully competitive.
And this would be, imagine seeing this event in the Olympics. Could you imagine? It'd be incredible. And I think that if you really want to make Olympics exciting, I mean, they're already exciting, don't get me wrong, but if you want to make them more exciting, events like mud runs, Spartan races would be unbelievable to watch. It'd be incredible. It'd be like watching XMC or whatever the Japanese show was where they had
yes.
That was incredible. MXC, thank you very much, producer Blake and Eric in there. MXC, that was unbelievable with Captain Tennille. That was an amazing show. But it'd be great to see this event go further, and I think it should.
And it merits the conversation, I think, because it is very athletic what it takes to do it. There's a lot of running involved, physical strength, agility, and it just adds
fun.
And fun. And that's the key part, is it's something different from everything else that you see on TV, really. That's partly why American Ninja Warrior has been so successful in this kind of CrossFit culture we have now, with so many people choosing athleticism through something other than just team sports. It's another avenue for people to explore and can create a lot of great human interest stories in the process.
You're seeing a lot more of these individual sports kind of take shape, because I think a lot of people are getting away from team sports because it puts the onus totally on them. And that's why these types of events are great. And they're a great way to have fun. Like I said, I just bring on more Spartan races, bring on more muck runs, make it happen. I think they're awesome. The more the better. What's not awesome is Sidney Crosby being hit by Matt Niskanen. Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinal against the Washington Capitals, Crosby took a nasty cross-check to the head, but I'm not entirely sure that's Matt Niskanen's fault. He was falling into him. Another concussion for Sid Crosby, which is not something you ever want to have. Missed Game 4 of the series, was back in Game 5. But was that a dirty hit?
I don't think it was as malicious as some people suggested it was. I mean, it would have been impossible to completely avoid contact of any kind, but the way he made contact suggested to me that at least he knew he was going to run into him as it happened, and he certainly could have held up his hands in a different manner than basically a cross-check to the head.
And that's fair. So Crosby's coming at him. He's ready for the cross-check when Crosby comes at him to give it to him. But if all the replays we've watched, for the most part, have been slow motion. When you watch that in slow motion, it looks way, way worse than it did in fast motion. In fast motion, the reaction time, it's like that. You don't have time to react, and I don't think Niskanen had time. The worst offense of all of this is the slash that Alex Ovechkin laid on his arm. That's the real penalty here, not the Niskanen hit. I mean, Niskanen had 5 minutes and a 10-minute misconduct. Thank you very much. But that's not the real penalty. It's Ovechkin.
I do think that is overlooked, because it's absolutely a slash that brought about the hit in the first place.
His stick bent around his arm. Like, if a stick bends, it nearly broke.
Maybe he's also though using a new flex we haven't seen legally in the league yet, and it's just that flexible.
Yeah,
one thing to think about last though is, while again is such a fast amount of reaction time, the way he looks past Crosby as he's hitting him, a little bit reminiscent of when David Steckel clipped Crosby and acted as if he hadn't even touched him.
In the outdoor game.
Just a little bit of, I know the guy's here, so I'm just not going to do that much to get out of the way. So it's not, I'm going to hurt this guy, but if I hit this guy in a bad way, no harm, no foul from my perspective.
So you don't think it was a dirty hit?
I think it was a partially dirty hit.
Yeah, I'd suspend Alex Ovechkin if you're going to suspend anyone, which you can't.
They will never suspend Alex Ovechkin.
It was a slash.
No, and one thing they should suspend is everyone who shot a 3-ball for the Raptors this second round. On the one hand, they couldn't stop that dynamite offense from LeBron and the rest of the Cavaliers, their own offense, which had shown improvement during the year, just couldn't do anything against the Cavs' pretty weak defense. Raptors shooting 28% from 3 against the Cavaliers. Yeah. And now, as they're outed from the second round, Lance, they have to figure out what to do this summer.
Hey, just remind me again, because I'm just having trouble remembering someone in this room, and it's not Jim, our cameraman, called the Raptors to lose that series.
I'll play along. It's Lance Phillips. Yes.
Oh, is it? Oh, it was. Okay, cool. I couldn't
continue.
remember. I just wasn't 100% sure on that. Okay, good stuff. Anyways, a lot of people are saying the Raptors took a step back, but did they really take a step back? They weren't going to beat the Cavs no matter when they played them. So whether it was the Eastern Conference Finals or the semifinals, they weren't going to get by them. So was the step back because they didn't make it to the final? I don't know if that's a step back or not. They didn't play maybe as well as against the Cavs as they did last year. The Cavs are a juggernaut, and LeBron James played out of his mind. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like DeMar DeRozan said, if we had LeBron James, we're winning. And that's basically it.
Most teams with LeBron James are winning that series, the numbers he's putting up. Again, it comes back to, as you said, did they take a step back? It's hard to say they took a step back when they're losing to the same team that beat them, that's been dominating everyone. You could say that in terms of their production this series, there was a small step back with how poorly they shot the ball and how
that's nothing new in the playoffs.
How scared they were a little bit on defense at times. But without Kyle Lowry, there was little chance of winning this series. And to begin with, they were the underdog, a huge underdog to win the series. Yeah. Going forward next year, though, they do need to figure out, is Wayne Casey the guy? Maybe he's not a good enough offensive coach.
They need a point guard, too, because Kyle Lowry's opted out of his contract.
That's something he did last time around as well. And so it's possible he opts out. He could still come back and take a new deal here with the team, simply because it gives him more range to get more money rather than just play for this 1 year and risk injury. Lots of questions, though. I don't know if Ibaka's back. That's the big one.
They need to deal with the point guard situation now because Kyle Lowry is opted out, and they got a problem there.
Corey Joseph's not bad either, though.
You know who else has a problem, Josh Ryan?
well, many people. But
Boston has
yes.
a problem.
Yes,
and Boston's problem is with racism, specifically towards Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles. In their weekend series against Baltimore, in last week's series against the Red Sox and the Orioles, there were numerous racial slurs uttered at center fielder Adam Jones. And this kind of behavior in this day and age is totally unacceptable. There is absolutely no way that any fan should be uttering those words. And my question to you, Josh, is if you are Boston Red Sox president, Sam Kennedy, what are you doing to ensure this doesn't happen again?
I think you're doing multiple things. One is anytime you hear somebody who mentions that, you don't just say you're suspended from this ballpark. You're kicked out of this ballpark for life. You make it a point of saying we're not going to condone this anymore. The second thing is really control the media narrative, because so many people from Boston, their initial reaction, especially on Twitter anyway, was to be defensive and this doesn't represent everyone in Boston. Well, it is something to look at, because every single player, like CC Sabathia, your own David Price, have all said this is the worst ballpark to play in for this kind of thing.
CC Sabathia went and said he's never been called the N-word anywhere but in Boston during his 17-year career, and he's not the only one. When you go to Boston, he says you need to expect it. That's so wrong. And the other thing is, what are fans around these people doing? Like, if I hear somebody saying that at a ballpark, we're throwing down. That's not happening. Like that, you can't allow your fellow fans to do that kind of thing.
You can't, although I don't know if throwing down would always work out. There could be legal ramifications, of course.
I don't care.
You're a little more fired up.
That's not acceptable in this day and age.
I do agree.
However, this is Trump's America.
The other thing, again, to think about, too, is just, like, your own player said it. David Price has said this is a tough ballpark to play in for Black and Latino players. And it doesn't mean that everyone in Boston is racist or that Boston is mostly full of racism. But that means that there is certainly a number of racists in Boston, and maybe you need to think about figuring out why this keeps popping up instead of simply going, we're not racist every time this happens.
If I'm Sam Kennedy, I'm putting a bounty out there. I'm saying to fans, we're going to reward you financially if you point out people that are uttering racial slurs.
That could cost him a lot of money.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money it costs them. No amount of money is worth what those players are going through. I would, if I'm him as a millionaire, a Boston Red Sox owner, and Sam Kennedy's not the owner, I'm paying whatever I have to pay to get rid of that stuff in my ballpark. I do not want my ballpark being known as a place where players come into and they're going to be taunted with N-words and N-bombs all over the place. Insane.
And one final note on that, for all the people who are saying that Jones made this up, he has nothing to gain from this.
No.
So I'm not sure where that's coming from. Someone who
That's
gained a little bit of money on Monday afternoon was Lonzo Ball, son of LeVar Ball, who's been the one making the rounds in the news. Those brand new shoes selling for $495, over $200 for the sandals, and not that many copies sold, but they did make $150,000 on Monday afternoon alone. You clearly are not a fan of the price tag.
No, a fan of the price tag, man. Like $495 for a pair of sneakers. They're low cuts too, at that, and $220 for those are sandals. Okay, I can go to Sport Check and buy a pair of Under Armour sandals for $39.99. That's ridiculous. And it was, of course, you know, LeVar Ball is saying that they'll make billions off of this. They expect to make billions. He wanted to rope all three of his sons together into a massive shoe deal with one of the major companies. Of course, nobody's going for that, so they went it on their own. And it's going to be a tough go on their own. I think they expected to sell way more than the just shy of 300 that they did sell. And they're not going to sell nearly as many of those as they expect.
You do have to remember, though, that is only one day, first. And second is that they're not making them in bulk right now. They're only making the ones they sell on their website. So right now they're only making profits. There are no costs so far. And it's going to continue
because... They do have costs. They made the shoes.
Just to make the shoes. You're not losing the profits you have from a lot of shoes sticking around in a cellar not being sold.
Well, they're going to have lots of shoes sticking around in the cellar.
But they're not, because they're only making them once someone says, I want to buy one. That's all the ones that have been made so far. That's why the release date is so late in the year. On top of that, they've gotten about the equivalent of $50 to $55 million in free advertising. So all the money that Under Armour, Nike, and other companies spend on these shoes is there for free, and they're only going to get free press over the next little while.
I mean, how much money did the Titanic make when it first came out on first day? Tons.
Not on the
millions of dollars.
Not on the first day.
Look at
it's one of the greatest movies of all time, but you're wrong. It had a low first weekend.
Pick a movie then. You're a movie guy. Which movie made the most money when it came out on day one?
That would, I believe, be The Avengers.
Okay, there you go. So things do happen on day one, except for big baller brand shoes. Look, I'm not, the only way I'm buying a pair of those shoes is if they're paying me to wear them. First of all, they're ugly. They're ugly as sin. I mean, look at them. They're black with rubber on them. They got BBB on them.
A few million people disagree with you, though, who bought the shoes.
No, a few million people didn't buy the shoes. They estimated.
But that was only the first day. They haven't estimated all of the costs for the following days since that first day.
Word.
There is more money coming to that.
There's no way that they're gonna. No way. They're not gonna sell nearly what they expected they would. Billions. Give me a break. Boston Red Sox, back to the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. This could be the new AL East rivalry. We've seen the Blue Jays be involved with Jose Bautista and the Baltimore Orioles. Years and years ago, we saw the Red Sox and Yankees be a huge rivalry in the AL East. Now it could be Boston and Baltimore. Numerous throws at Manny Machado, behind the head. Chris Sale threw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball behind him. Like, I love this. This is great, and this is what makes sports interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah, it also unfortunately does add to that narrative with Boston. Chris Sale's already had a problem with throwing at non-white baseball players in the past, and that could create a narrative. But I agree. I think
maybe
it's
that's
good.
Why Boston brought him in.
Yeah, I agree. It will be good to have a rivalry like this because the Yankees probably aren't going to be a dynamite team this season. The Jays obviously are having their struggles. The two teams that have clearly been better than everyone else are Boston and Baltimore. And if, as you said, they continue to hate each other to this extent, it makes for way more interesting plot lines in the postseason. As much as we preach good sportsmanship, we all kind of secretly want to see conflict.
No, for sure you do.
And this is what you're going to see with these two teams.
It's like the Rougned-Odor situation with Bautista in the ALCS. That's exactly what you want to see. It's definitely what you want to see. And that was not in the ALCS, pardon me. But yeah, I mean, the more of this kind of stuff, the better for fans, and it makes sports way more compelling. They play again on June 1st at Camden Yards in Baltimore. I can't wait to see what that's like. I mean, you could very well see fireworks there again, especially if anything happens. A guy gets plunked by accident, hard slide, anything at all is going to set these two teams off, and it could be fun to watch.
And even the people who really hated the Odor situation with the Rangers, how good did it feel to beat them in the playoffs, having cheered against them all season? That could be the payoff for one of these fan bases.
I'm sure it felt good. I'm sure for them it felt good. I don't know if it felt good for me. I mean, I'm a baseball fan in general. I don't sing myself to one particular team.
Well, you're in the rare market then, because everyone else likes to latch on, including myself. But I do latch on to great human interest stories like Isaiah Thomas. Obviously some heroics in these playoffs already, getting through the first round against Chicago after his sister tragically passed away, and then an unbelievable performance early on in this Washington Celtics series in the second round. 53 points in Game 2, something that only a few other players in NBA history have completed. Even LeBron has never scored 50 in a playoff game, and Thomas is only 5'8". How amazing is that?
No, it's a great story. And as much as we just talked about conflict being a great thing, this is also a great thing. I mean, these types of storylines really lend themselves to engaging sports plays, engaging sports moments that you don't see all the time. And you hate that it's a tragedy that's actually brought them to this point, but it's still great to watch.
Yes, absolutely. And it's, galvanized this team in order to play better. I mean, they were really struggling coming into the playoffs at times, and certainly in that first round, helped a little bit by Rondo getting injured, of course. Yes. And then since then, they've really played solidly despite a poor Game 4 performance against the Wizards. And, I mean, again, like with so many bad stories you see around the world, it's nice to see a story like this take place. And just especially, how much exciting is it for kids seeing a guy this small fight through such adversity?
Okay, and this is interesting, as you mentioned kids, and I wasn't going to bring this into the situation, but I wonder how many people out there are actually rooting for a guy like Isaiah Thomas, considering things he does, like giving gun signs to players' heads and stuff. Is this a guy that you want your kids to be influenced by? In this particular situation, sure. And in situations where he's giving guys gun signs, Maybe not.
He definitely did receive flack for that. I think if you look at most fan bases, they're certainly more popular for him compared to, say, LeBron or something. Steph Curry, for that very reason, has become one of the highest-selling jerseys because people identify with him. People can identify with the smallest guy on the court getting the best of everyone else. And I think that is going to continue as long as the Celtics remain in the playoffs.
Well, and they're an underdog team.
That's true.
An underdog team. Coming up on the other side, two guests. Our first time having two guests. Chopper Hippie, Garrett Musgrave from the Lloydminster Red Dogs join us in studio. Stay with us.
They're nice lads.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Welcome back to The Gloves Are Off. Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan with you, joined by a couple of old dogs. Well, they're not really old, I guess, are they?
Pretty young dogs.
They're young dogs, yeah, they're young dogs. Young red dogs. Colton Hippie. So we were talking about your brother, Chopper Hippie, pardon me, and Garrett Musgrave. We shouldn't have been talking about your brother all that time before we started, and I wouldn't have called you by his name. Is that insulting to you?
No, I get it all the time from my mom. She mixes up our names all the time. She'll go through the whole list before she gets to me.
If I called him by your name, would he be insulted by that?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know.
It's good to know you guys are easygoing.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a pretty good season. Josh and I talked about it at length as we did to start this show, and so I think over the last 13 seasons you're like 160-0 or something like that. Like, I don't think you've lost in like 42 years or something. Like, seriously, you have not lost in 2 seasons and beyond. How do you do it?
Just a lot of practice. Like, I've been playing since, or like 10 seasons now, and just practicing every day, like twice a week, and then working out just kind of helps out.
So it's not something in the meals your mom's making? It's not something in the water in Lloydminster that makes you guys better than everybody?
No, I don't think so. It's also the coaching, I think, is what drives us the most. They're super competitive, and they're on us all the time to play the best that we can, and it's just fun being around them. It's a great time. Honestly, I have a bunch of fun.
We hear that a lot about coaching, and it's kind of interesting just to be around the Red Dogs and see that there's coaches from all different walks. There's coaches from both high schools, which, I mean, the wealth of knowledge these guys are bringing must be unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see what they all think.
It's really nice to have too, and like especially like both the head coaches aren't so like biased to one team. Like Oreo or Harper aren't just coaching their guys; they're there to coach all of us, and they're both there to help all of us, and not just their team or the other team.
How much of a challenge is it for them to have to kind of designate duties to different coaches in terms of how much time you can spend on one group or one player or one skill or one play?
I don't really know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I had no idea what that question meant either.
What I meant specifically was just how much is it a battle of trying to like really focus on defense versus offense versus kick return, that kind of thing?
It's not too hard just because we have like coaches set for that. Like so we've got like defensive coordinators that only work with the defense, so they get all practice to work with the defense. But the hard part is that we've got players playing both ways, so it's hard to get players repping both. That's probably the hardest thing, I think.
You're both done after this year, so you're done after Sunday. What do you think it'll be like? I know you and I talked about it, Garrett, at your last practice, but what do you think it'll be like to take that jersey off for the last time knowing you won't put it on again?
I think pretty sad just because like this team and the coaching and this program's helped me develop so much as a player.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sad too because this year was a little special, I'm thinking. Since the passing of Rod, it was a little, it's a hard hit to take, and this year it was pretty special to know that we won, and it's something that Lloyd minor football will carry on, and this year's been weird. It's been like,
in what aspect?
Like in the Bantam, the Mustangs and the Chargers met in the Bantam Bowl and ended in a tie, actually.
That's unbelievable.
That doesn't happen every day.
No,
ever.
It was a special game, I think, because it was the year Rod has passed away, and then the Comp and the Raiders went in the WFL championship, and they went to the finals in provincials, and the football teams have really strived in Lloydminster the past couple of years.
Was it a bit of a focus when you got into camp even that you kind of wanted to win for Rod? Like that was on your minds as you guys went into camp initially?
Yeah, I think so. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that was the main goal, is to finish. Yeah, just finish off on a good season, winning.
What was he like? Because I've been here since November. I never really got to know him, like my predecessor did. But what was he like as a person?
he was special. I think he really liked all of his players, and he treated them very respectfully and like family, because as soon as you're on the team, he's basically your dad for the couple weeks you're there. If you have problems, you go talk to him. He's a loving guy. He was awesome. He was there to help and have fun and win.
Does that set the tone then for the Red Dogs culture that's been around for so long, the way he treats everyone around him?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because like that, like I see that in directs. Like he's definitely become more of a players coach now. Like he's like more bonding with the players and not just the coach in there to win. He's more just about to have fun, win, and have fun playing football.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me that's developed over the course of this year too is all these young guys. Like, and when I say, I mean you guys are young guys, but the 14-year-old kids that are in there, and there's 10 of them, if I'm not mistaken. We've talked about this endlessly, haven't we?
Yes.
About these young kids.
Every
I
week
know
on the show, basically.
I know, but it's worth conversation, because
Yeah.
it's super interesting what these kids do. They step into these roles. How impressed have you guys been with what they've done?
I've been pretty impressed on the offense, because we go from losing a whole bunch of vets last year, which was a critical hit on us, but these guys stepped up big and they showed what they can do, and on the field, off the field, they're guys that want to play and want to learn. They're pretty fun to be around.
I really enjoy it too. I really enjoy them and their enthusiasm to win and play football and just be there and have fun.
So it wasn't too hard a task of being the older guys where the younger guys kind of annoy you a little bit. You just enjoyed being leaders with them?
There was that aspect.
There's
Of course there was.
Okay.
Of course there was.
I think that's on every team, though. There's always a little bit of frustration that you get with some little guys, but they turned out at the end. They went from little guys to more mature. That's what I look at it.
Was that you guys, I guess, your journey as well? How different was that being, in the early stages of the program where you're the young bucks to now being kind of the veteran guys that are leaned on?
It's definitely a big change, because like you look up as those guys like role models, and like you want to learn everything from them because they're at the top, right? And then now we're at the top, kind of teaching the younger guys. It's just a weird switch.
It's definitely weird going from looking, when it's your first year, you look at how big these guys are, and you're just intimidated, and then your second year, it's like, oh, this isn't as bad, and you're just having fun out there, and then next thing you know, you're on your last year, and there's guys twice the size smaller than you, and you're just a little shocked how it went by as quick, I think.
I'm intimidated when I go in there. They're all bigger than me.
Oh, I can imagine.
They're all bigger than me. I'm scared, actually, half the time. I don't like to interview some of those guys. It's freaking me out.
Bryce.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Bryce. So the season is over, and you now split your ways to go to high school football programs that are starting. I guess camps will be starting very soon.
Yeah.
Ours starts next week.
Yeah, and yours is not far behind, I don't think.
No, it's.
for the comp.
I'm sure next week is around the start.
Okay, so now comes the point where you have to take the friendships that you have and divide them and be enemies on the field. How do you make that transition?
I still think we're friends on the field.
Oh, really?
Last year, me and
No, I love it.
You don't
I
think
love
so?
that.
No, I just love contact, and just like I think of it as like I gotta beat them so I can rub it in them after the game.
So great. No. No.
We're friends off the,
Resounding no.
we're friends off the field like 100%, but like as soon as it gets on the field, we're enemies. So I'm there to win.
He's not. He's still buddies.
Yeah,
Garrett's
no,
still buddies.
Sometimes I don't like him. There's the odd time where he makes me
Would now be one of those times?
a little bit.
The crazy part is that sometimes you have buddies like that play against each other, but they both play on defense.
Right.
He plays offense and Chopper plays defense. So they will be on the field at the same time.
Yeah,
There's a high
absolutely.
probability that Chopper will try and murder him on the field.
Absolutely.
He has.
Yeah. I did last year.
Did you?
Yeah, last year was a.
I blitzed and they were in the red zone. They threw and the running back missed a block, and then I had a free gap at Garrett and just smoked him.
Just like a truck. Just like a truck running him down. I can't wait for high school football season to start.
Neither can I. Not just because of that friendly rivalry you guys have, but also the school rivalry that comes with it. How big is that? I know Holy Rosary's kind of gotten the better of the comp more than once.
Yeah.
But how big is that when it picks up in September, and especially for, say, the comp to overtake Holy Rosary this year?
It's pretty big. Like, we always go into it knowing that we need to be the best, and we prepare to be the best, and sometimes that isn't the case when it comes to game time. But this year, I think it's going to be a little closer, hopefully. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And it's never like, we're never like, oh, we're just going to go in there and win. It's always like, oh, we got to gotta bury these guys like the Lloyd rivals. Like we gotta win this one by lots.
Bury these guys.
Buried.
Okay.
Buried.
Before we
Murder.
started here, though, Chop may notice that jersey on the wall, that Holy Rosary jersey, is a medium jersey. Tell the people what you weigh.
Well, I'm 211 now, but in season I was 230, and I was wearing that.
Wearing that jersey, I almost want to pull it off the wall and see if he fits into it right now without pads.
Oh, I don't know. I tried it on like without pads, and nothing was skin tight. I was like scared. It was
How do you
horrible.
get it over the pads?
Oh, I've like who was? I think Eli helped me a lot last year. You put it on and pull it off for me.
That's a story in itself.
Yeah, good to
actually.
know you have someone who can help you put on clothing.
Yeah. Eli's strictly around to help Chop put his clothing on. Hey, help me with these pants too, would you? What's pick one thing. What's your favorite part of this season with the Red Dogs, Garrett?
Oh boy. Probably just being with all my friends again and getting one last shot at it with them. That's probably what is the most fun this year.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Just because like I've got friends on the comp and Holy, and it's just like nice to play with all of them on one team and just have fun. And because this will probably be the last season I'll ever play with like all of them again.
What's for both of you, then we'll start again with Garrett. What's one thing you're most looking forward to this off season, even though for you guys it's not necessarily as much of an off season?
Probably knowing that we'll have at least a fairly good chance going against Holy and getting to play against Chopper and all the buddies over there one last time, and hopefully we can stick it to them this year.
You've got a couple years though still at the comp, don't you?
Nope, this is my last one.
Oh, this is your last. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you still had 2 years left.
Nope, this is it.
And big news for you that just came down the pipe.
Yeah.
Going to represent Alberta in the U18 team. That's pretty substantial.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I think your dad was more excited when I talked last night than you were by far. He said he was checking on the computer for 3 hours previous to it coming down the pipe. But in all seriousness, how much are you looking forward to getting out there to Nova Scotia?
Oh, I'm so excited. It's gonna be like really nice, and it still hasn't like hit me yet. Like I'm playing for Team Alberta. I'm like one of the like 4 guys ever from Lloyd to make that team.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled out east like that before, out to the Maritimes?
No.
So that'll be a trip in itself
Yeah.
then.
Bye. It'll be a great time. Bye. It'll be a great time there. He might run into Randy and Leahy while he's out there.
Yeah, probably.
There's a high probability of that.
Probably.
The bubbles for me, boy. No, that's really cool. So that gets going in July.
Yeah.
So and there's going to be a lot of eyes there.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a good possibility.
I know that for sure because I know we're at our last camp, like or even our practice where they haven't even made the cuts yet. There's 9 university scouts that came and watched and like asked for like permission to come watch.
That's really awesome. And Garrett, you have a skiing background, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this too much, but I will come winter. Talk to us a little bit about ski cross, because it's become, I think, more popular than just regular skiing and snowboarding events. And what you did this past winter is pretty cool.
Well, what do you really want to know about it? Like what it is?
No,
or?
we know what it is. We
Yeah.
want to know what you did this
What I
past
did.
winter, because it was pretty special.
Well, this year was my first year FIS, and that is for anyone that is 16 years and older. And then I was able to go down to Calgary and race with the Alberta Ski Cross team.
Awesome.
And I got to travel and train with all of them, which was pretty sweet. And sometimes we went and trained with the development team for Canada Alpine, which was pretty awesome, and getting to know the knowledge of those guys and how they take on courses and all that. And so first we started out in Edmonton on a little hill called Sunridge, and that was a pretty big gap to fill for what I did previous years, and seeing how much better these guys are, and they're that much closer to the next level.
Yeah.
And I didn't do too bad. I came 11th the first day, and then 12th the second day, which was all right for my first one. And then I want to say the next one was at Prince George in BC. We went out and spent a week out there, and then come race time, I didn't do so good on that one.
No.
That was a little rough. I think I came 11th and 21st or something like
You
that.
redeemed yourself in Ontario pretty well, though.
Yeah, I went out east to Collingwood, Ontario, and raced at Blue Mountain for the Canadian Nationals. That was a big course. That was pretty fun.
That would be.
I came 21st that day, but out of all the Canadians, I came 14th.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and
really
then, well, then we went to Sir Sam's for Junior Nationals, and that was Little smaller course.
So Sam's is my old stomping grounds.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
I snowboarded there when I was a kid.
Yeah, so you know what it's
Yeah, I
like,
do.
pretty small, and then I came 4th at junior nationals, and
Good
that
for
was
you. That's awesome.
That was fun. That was a good trip.
That's really fantastic. Blue Mountain, I know you have never been to Blue Mountain, but I have held many a yard sale at Blue Mountain.
Yeah.
Many a yard sale at Blue Mountain. There's been equipment all over that hill for sure. Guys, continued success on whatever path you take. I know for you, you're looking forward to that U18s. And I know you've got some ski cross stuff coming up this winter that's going to be pretty pivotal for you. So congratulations on all the success you've had and continued for sure. I've enjoyed watching you guys this year, and we're glad you came in today to chat with us for sure.
Yeah, great talk.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coming up on the other side of the gloves are off, the mailbird. And I keep forgetting it's Albert. I know, I keep forgetting that. That's next.
It's established.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Heyo, Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan with you and Albert. Albert is also with you, of course.
Always with us.
Yes, he's always with us for our Twitter segment, our Mailbird segment, and he is loaded up. He was flying all over today, Josh.
So he's a little tired, as you can see by his
he's worn
lean.
out.
He's kind of
he actually looks
he wasn't on a bender. He just worked really hard this weekend.
I think he might have actually been on a bender.
I think he was just. You've got mail. And I'll start us off if you don't mind. This is something I completely agree with. Steve Simmons at Simmons Steve says, Bob Cole, never retire. And I know it's going to come soon, but I know he misses names sometimes. He's not as quick on the draw as he has been in the past, but man, he still makes the games exciting.
Do you ever think about, over the course of our lives, we're going to see some things happen. We're going to see guys like Wayne Gretzky pass away. We're going to see Sidney Crosby retire. We're going to see Connor McDavid retire over the course of our lives. Do you ever think about that stuff and think, what is the game going to be like with these people out of it totally? Bob Cole's a great example of that. What is it going to be like? I mean, I've grown up with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised Hockey Night in Canada. We didn't have much for cable. We didn't have cartoons the way a lot of kids did. So the one time we got to watch stuff as a family was either a Disney movie or Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday nights.
Why do you always reference movies? They're all about movies. This is a great one. This is actually courtesy.
Figured that out yet?
This is courtesy of you. Do you remember J.E. Skeets actually?
I'm a big fan of J.E. Skeets.
The Basketball Jones on the score. Do you remember
Jones,
that?
Yeah, they're great.
Sorry?
They're great.
Yeah, this is from J.E. Skeets at J.E. Skeets. Celtics Wizards Game 4 preview. That guy is getting mauled.
Yes. Yes, that quick clip, of course, from another movie, The Revenant.
Okay.
But yeah, that game didn't quite turn out to be quite The Revenant, but it was still physical. That series is becoming really interesting.
We may have more on that series coming up in the show.
Yes. This is, of course, a favorite of ours at What He Looks Like. Quinn Snyder looks like the government official who releases the supervillain because he thinks he can control it. And I mean, that's dead on.
He looks like the villain. He doesn't. He looks like the supervillain, not necessarily.
Yeah, he actually looks like the guy who takes the serum by accident and turns into the Vulture or whatever.
Sure. He definitely looks like a serial killer. There's no question about it. he could be a serial killer. Oh, another one of our favorites, Jeopardy Sports at Jeopardy Sports. Josh Ryan, this NBA player dominates quarter number 4, wears number 4, and is 4 feet tall.
Oh right, Isaiah Thomas.
Ding 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 ding. Hashtag Jeopardy Sports. Hashtag NBA playoffs. I like those. Those are great.
Mail in the beak.
Yeah, definitely give them a follow.
They get a little savage too, which is the really good stuff. So, replying to a tweet that says, "It matters not that General Cole can barely remember the troops' names. His soothing timbre tone is positively sonorous." I don't know if that was spelled correctly. And then at Corporal Austin Matthews responded, "Bob Cole is such a national treasure that the men should legally change their names to whatever he thinks they are, out of respect."
I love
from Corporal Austin Matthews. That's another really good Twitter follow. Really
like the guys who, or the people, I shouldn't say guys, it could be women. The people who think these things up, genius. Like that Corporal creative. Austin Matthews one is
there's mail.
Gold. Not Danny Heatley. It's not a family-friendly one. Another very creative one.
This isn't from today. This is not from today. This is from May the 7th, which was Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
15 years ago today. We talking about practice? Man, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we in here talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game, not the game I love, not the game I die for.
That's
We in
not a
here
bad
talking about
impression.
practice.
It's not an impression. How many uses of the word practice were in that interview?
I gotta say there were probably 42.
I think it was 39, so you're
I
close.
was close. I use 42 for everything though. Like
You've
Albert's had
got
42
mail.
drinks before he started on the desk here.
What famous athlete wore the number 42?
Jackie Robinson.
Very good. At Brendan_Dunlop of Sportsnet. Sure, the hashtag Pens lost, but someone is getting a dope-ass at Pens knitting lady hand-knit scarf via at
knits.
Paul Bromley. That's the knitting lady from the Pittsburgh
I
Penguins.
do think that Brendan Dunlop actually stole that tweet from Pete Blackburn of Fox Sports. Because I'm pretty sure Pete Blackburn of Fox Sports actually put that tweet out first.
Hey, there's mail.
That's okay.
It's a pretty good
It's still
picture.
pretty sweet. All right, this is great. This is Bar Down, at Bar Down, of course.
Yes.
Former Packers player torches Cutler with hidden message and tweet wishing him luck in broadcasting. And if you look at Tom Crabtree's lettering down there, you'll see that INT is capitalized, INT is capitalized, and INT is capitalized. Interception, interception, interception. That's Jay Cutler
That's
for you.
pretty appropriate for Jay Cutler.
Coming up next, score this.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
Hey, Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan. Scoring for Josh Ryan. Optional.
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 You're going to live that down, are you?
No. Again, please hammer back. Please. We gotta put the Dukes up here. Although I'm pretty sure you'd take me out.
Apparently, I'm just too nice.
All right, score this. Let's
Unless
have
it's
some fun
actually
with
funny.
score this. We got some good stuff lined up today, and finally, Josh Ryan. Finally, we're starting with a local,
Yes.
some local content. There just hasn't been anything going on because the weather has been so poor up until about a week ago, and now the teams are getting outside.
And you'll like this one.
You will like this one. This is a dynamite catch. This comes courtesy of the Lloydminster Red Dogs. Of course, behind center is Anton Amandrud. And this pass is pretty good, but the catch is even better. Denon Slushuk. Check it, that catch. That's dirty.
My goodness.
It was dirty. If you wanna watch it again, Josh, well, there's a replay coming. Look at it. Fully outstretched. Oh, that is a thing of beauty right there.
That would get, I think, approval for more than a few
Yeah,
university programs.
that's pretty good. And I'm
More than a
super
few.
stoked that we get to start with some local stuff. And in an ideal world, all of our Score This plays will be local.
Yes. So the question is what we're scoring.
Yeah, how about you go with that one?
It's not the best high school football catch I've ever seen.
What are
but
you talking about?
It's great. I've seen
What does
one.
he need to do to be better?
I've seen one with one hand. That's the tens for me. That was a great catch. Don't get me wrong. That was an awesome catch. I'm sorry to crap on local sports. I love the as we were so excited to talk about local sports. It was a great catch.
Josh Ryan
It's
makes a
great
good
catch.
point. I'm going to go 9 as well.
Oh my goodness. You are
I just-
unbelievable.
I had to
You know
go
that?
9. I had to go 9.
It is a 9. It's
I
a
was
great
gonna go
catch.
10, but that was
It's a
you made a
great
good point
catch.
about one-handed. If he caught that one-handed, I would have had to write it
Then it's a
down.
10. 10 has to be like, once a year, highlight of the year
You
type
are
of stuff.
unbelievable.
You are unbelievable.
All right, Steph Curry.
A good unbelievable.
Warriors and Jazz. This is Western semifinal game 1. Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert. Oh, that.
A little English at the left.
You know what that
end
is?
too.
That is just a small, quick guy making a lanky, long-legged creature. That's just incredible. Looks silly.
And
That's
he
what
goes
that is.
around Boris Diaw and underneath for the finish. Pretty special stuff.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, you're right
Plenty
about the
of English there.
The English is pretty solid. What do you got?
I know I'm repeating myself, but that's a 9. That's in a playoff game, and that's it's just a statement of how dominant the Warriors have been.
It's Steph Curry. I'll give it an 8. I mean, I've seen Steph Curry do better things.
Yeah, he has
but
done some
I'll
cool
give him
things.
I'll give him the 8. That's
It's pretty
good.
special, though. The added bonus at the end of going underneath was what did it in for me.
All right, let's move to Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards, as we've been talking about. This is Game 3 of the first round. It's been some bad blood brewing all season between these two teams. Wow, that's a block. That's a block. And Kelly Oubre did not like it.
You do not see that in sports, man.
No.
I mean, sorry, in basketball. In sports
No.
you do, but basketball you see a
Crowder
lot of.
right in there. Eh? He he's had bad blood with Beal. Oh, it's
You see a lot of hold me back. There was no holding back for Kelly Oubre.
It wasn't a bad block though. Like it's not like it's.
No, I mean
it was a legit.
It was a legit block. What people fail to remember is that a few minutes before, Oubre had accidentally been knocked down by his own teammate and thought it was an opposing player.
So he's already
a little annoyed.
He's already fired up.
Already a little bit fired up.
What are you scoring on that? Actually, do you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah,
Josh?
you can go first on this one.
I'm going to go with a 6 for Oubre on that hit on Olynyk. He could have done way better than that. Like he came in, he kind of hit him like this. Like it could have been far better. I'll go 6.
I always give a low grade to basketball fights, and this was better than normal, but it's still a 4. It was just a shove.
It wasn't even a fight.
There's no punches thrown.
It wasn't even a fight.
It was still a lot of hold me back.
How do you feel about Scottish Premier League soccer?
Well, don't even start on the sport of soccer.
All right,
and the diving
this
culture.
is Inverness and Ross County, and keeper Ryan Essen from Inverness. Botched it. He botched that. So Liam Boyce scored. That was his first of 4 goals in the match. That's about how Albert feels after a night of drinking.
Oh my goodness.
That's unbelievable. Oh, he kicked it right in his face. Right in the face.
I mean,
face.
You do have to give him a bit of credit for not getting stunned by that. Watch again.
Bang.
He's got jaws of steel.
Okay, Josh, what do you got?
Now, the only reason I'm not giving it a 1 to the keeper is because that guy did take it off the chin, but that's still terrible. Keeper's got to know better.
I'm going 2 on that as well, Josh.
Yeah, we agreed a lot today, actually.
Coming up on the other side, Bow Wow.
Always love Bow Wow.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
Our gloves are fully off. Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan, nothing.
Yes, although I
feel like this would end badly for me.
Well, you know how to box, I don't, so. I don't know.
You seen me box?
I guess that's a good point. I've never
You mean like assemble boxes with
Right.
tape? I'm great at that. I'm amazing at that.
Yeah.
All right, best of the week, worst of the week. Let's start with best of the week.
Let's do best of the week.
Pretty easy to figure out what this one's going to be. Yeah, it's Red Dogs. And it's Dan and Slushak again.
Pretty great grab. Really had to extend for that one.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And the amount of times you have to practice to get the timing as well.
Yeah.
Is something else.
All right. This is awful.
Moving on
This
again.
is from Slovenia, Switzerland, in the World Hockey Championship. Slovenia forward Ziga Jeglic getting into the box. That's a kick. He kicked him with his skate. If that had been over 4 inches and he kicks his neck, it's game over. Like literally game over.
That's amazing he only got 2 games.
He should be suspended for life. 2-game suspension.
I agree. And they'll show suspended for a week.
You got it. Thanks for watching. See you in 1 week.
See you guys.